I'm left-handed, I'm just doing the right side.
Change your workout, I'll take you, that's all I have. I'll stay home.
Welcome.
Okay, folks, 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Newfield Zoning Board of Adjustment, January 29th, 2025. We have Hillary Reserve taking votes. Steve Yevich is our full board member, myself, Ken Lawrence, Betsy Coes, Bob Elliott, and Tom Grove. On the board this evening. We have case number 25-01-29-01. Lori and Ken Baker are seeking a special exception to allow for installation of an accessory dwelling unit, ADU, as provided by Article 4, Section 4.14.4, zoning ordinances. I will let you do your presentation. It should be, if you follow the order that we have down here, you simplify the whole thing. But there's not the ordinances.
Oh, okay, that's even in the fill-out. I wasn't told I was presenting anything, I thought I was just answering the questions.
Well,
Okay. All right, is this what you're
there is,
seeing now? Okay. Oh, you can't see that?
yeah, that's,
Okay.
sure.
So it's our desire to build that ADU for our mother-in-law to come up and stay with us. I believe we have all the criteria that we saw that the town provided for us. A number of good questions.
Okay, so I see we have the drawings.
These look different from what I don't know, what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
a-
good. I never know.
I do have a copy, yes,
But you can have one.
So
provide information showing that the proposed use conforms to the dimensional requirements of a single-family lot and meet all existing requirements. So the ADU is not within our setbacks. I questioned that with Stu, and basically what this is meant to be interpreted as is that this entire building is within the building envelope. It does not approach on setbacks. This is a 2-acre lot. Somebody confirm that for me?
It's on the line.
Okay.
I was struggling with that also. I didn't see where there was a setback.
And this word phrase will encourage that to be within the building envelope. And she showed me the setback lines on that.
Right.
This drawing.
There's the 20. Yeah, I wasn't sure what the setback was over here, but I drove by and looked. It appeared on casual inspection.
Now, this is the addition of 1 bedroom?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm assuming that it's maximum occupancy per bedroom consistent with policy adopted by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development.
I admit I don't know what that means. And then you see accepted.
I think it's 2.
Two?
This is something.
Okay, no, I just,
I kind of.
I didn't know.
Larry's interpretation of
that's cool.
meeting everything is what I generally will accept for. But that's, okay, there's a picture here. Does show this building very contiguous garage-like thing over here. It's pretty much like a single family dwelling. Concurrence?
Good question. Hi, I'm Judy Colbert, we back up the property. I'm just not sure what zoning variance they need. Is
It's
it
not a
separate?
variance. This application is for a special exception. The special exception we basically only have one in the town of Newfields, and it is for accessory dwelling units. And we are going down through all of the questions that are asked, and this is in our book 14.14.4, special exception, and that's that this applies to the accessory dwelling unit. Now, these conditions that as I'm reading off, and we're kind of agreeing that they have been met, if they have all been met, it's passed. If any one of them is not met, it is either a lack of information that will need to be brought to us, or there's some detail that's not going to allow it to pass by this method. Is there some further clarity you require?
Well, I just thought that this is the zoning board, that so therefore they did not meet some type of a zoning. They were
That's-
seeking
In a
relief.
way, they don't, but Newfields doesn't allow 2 building
Dwelling
units
units.
on, or dwelling units on one lot. That's why we've had to make a special exception to allow additional dwelling units, mother-in-law apartments, whatever you want to call them. But there are strict things they have to satisfy.
We in the past had, if you will, in-law apartments.
Yeah.
And then, I don't remember the date, it was 3 or 4 years ago, the state of New Hampshire changed some regulations, and our regulations pretty much follow what the state requirements are for accessory dwelling units. And the definition is virtually the same, whether it's in-law apartment versus a accessory dwelling unit, except for the use is expanded in that it doesn't have to be a family member. But the owner must live in one of the units. And that's consistent with our past.
And it also forbids condominialization. You can't make it into condos.
Yeah.
So,
So in lieu of a presentation, why don't we just go down through
I was going to
14.411? We'll just,
This questionnaire here is sort of designed to follow that.
sort of,
And we could do it that route if you,
yeah, this questionnaire is your typical variant.
no, it isn't.
Oh, I see, yeah.
It's an ADO specific.
So does this,
So I've gone through 3 of them.
And I mean, in their application too, they bring our attention to the question of a third of the size of the existing structure in 750 square feet. So they brought our attention to that, I think acknowledging that perhaps they feel they've met all those conditions except for that one. So if we go through those, we're going to get to that one, and that will be our main discussion, I think.
ooh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
So 750 was the square footage of the original house.
Right. Yeah, that they were kind enough to point that out to us in the application. Yes, and that was my question too. Just looking at this here, the overall size of
the house.
of the ADU, the overall size of the house.
Well, the 750 is,
It's less than, can't be less than.
Correct. It can't be less than 750.
It,
well, it's not,
well, it can't be too much less or it won't be a dwelling unit.
Well, even by law, that's true. That's true. Exactly. That's what it is. The law was kind enough to limit us to
so
750.
And that 750 was provided by the designer to us, I'm sorry, but.
Right.
here's what the town ordinance says. The size of the accessory apartment shall not exceed 1/3 of the living area of the entire dwelling, meaning both units, which shall not be required to be less than 750 square feet. So,
Right.
we can't require them to be, but we can allow them to be.
Well, the statute is written just like that they have to be at least 750 square feet. And that's what their designer also followed that same RSA. So it has to be at least 750 square feet. They've met that. What the question is the third
About
of
the
the size.
1/3 of the total
Correct,
size.
Correct, third of the total size.
My home is 1,700 square feet.
Okay, that was
That's-
one of my questions.
So that,
what is it?
so
Yes.
if, now, and then you
Yes.
add the 750 to that.
2,450, and then you take a third of that,
right,
which
Yeah.
comes out to around 816 or 817, I believe, so.
yeah. You did the math.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Yeah,
That was all layered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good deal.
That's what I didn't know was the square footage of the.
so it appears though that's compliant.
Yeah.
Does it appear?
Both ways.
Right, right.
I suppose we just need that on record. Is
Right.
it the 1,700
Yeah,
on the
where-
drawing somewhere?
It can be extracted. I thought the designer would have done it.
Usually they put-
But it can be extracted from the last page of this document.
Of the document, the overall picture? Okay.
It's pretty small. Oh, you mean for existing home? You mean for the existing home?
Right, without having to do
Oh.
math, is
Oh, no, the
it,
existing home, I'd have to get that for you.
okay.
I do have that documentation as well.
I believe we could verify the existing one too from the property tax.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's unsued downstairs, just to check it out.
Visually, it looks, as you said, that it's less than 1/3 of the combined.
Is that apply only to the living area? Because there's a lot of space in the basement, so forth.
Living, it does say.
Wow.
does
Above
specify
ground.
living area.
It's going to be above
Yes.
ground.
This is a living area, right?
The house, the drawing
not.
Right.
The bottom floor is the garage and the roof area. Obvious to me, but the living area is right above the,
Right,
this is.
depends on what is defined as living area.
It wouldn't be the garage, so it's not the two-car garage.
Not living in the garage.
Right.
Or on the stairs.
And a mudroom.
So,
No, it isn't, because it's shared space.
Hold on a second, there's just entirely too many people.
Okay.
I sort of, Fran, you had a comment?
Yeah, my name is Fran Lay, I'm a neighbor, obviously. And being a neighbor, whatever I have to say is not going to be in any way offensive. But I know that we're dealing with RSA 67422, and also our ordinance more specifically under 4.14, which says the size of the accessory apartment shall not exceed 1/3 of the living area of the entire dwelling, all units which shall not be required to be less than 750 square feet. So I looked at this, and if you look at the plans, et cetera, the schematic, if you start with this first sheet, and the submission with it, where they're providing a schematic of each floor. And I just kind of like looked at it, because basically the footprint of the new structure basically is going to be, let's see, up here. The footprint of the new structure is 900 square feet. I'm just talking about foundation. And the footprint of the old structure is 768 square feet. When you look at, and again, all I'm trying to do is trying to see how this fits into the wall. When we look at that question, 1/3 shall not exceed 1/3
Shall
of
not
the
exceed
area of
1/3,
structures.
yeah.
And then you look at the schematics in terms of the square footage of the main house, which according to the tax cards indicates about 1,600 square feet. And then you add up the square footage, and you know, I'm not a mathematician, but the math, I'm trying to make the math work. The new structure, the main part would be 676 square feet, but there's a mudroom that is extended, and that provides for another 224 square feet, a first and second floor, which would be 900. You add that up, it's 1,124 feet. I'm trying to apply that, our ordinance to it. I think that the new addition by way of an accessory use would come up to about 40%. So when you look at it, it's really, it's a structure that's larger than the existing structure. There may be different reasons why you felt you needed to do that, but I'm not so sure that this really complies with the state statute or our ordinance.
We need measurements. We can back this all the way down the road, but we need
We need it
specific-
documented.
How many square feet is the house?
But what is the intention here is whether you call it the living space.
But to come up
It
with
will
the
be on your tax
1/3.
card. It'll be on your tax card. The square footage of your house.
Living space with the new structure.
It'll be,
It's a modern living space. and that's-
We were told that the mudroom was shared space and was not considered a living space.
Is the basement in the main house finished out?
No,
Nope,
it's
it's
not.
not. Nope.
but that never counts anyhow. That's,
Basements never count? Okay.
no.
No.
Sure. Thank you.
So let me know exactly what you
So
need. now,
here's
and then we get
here's
it
the
approved up.
problem that seems to be arising is that the accessory dwelling unit, part of this addition, appears to exceed 1/3 of the total square foot of living area.
So when we talk about a mudroom, I mean, we could split hairs over it. It ends up being a shared entrance. I don't understand what Larry was saying. I know where you're coming from, but I don't understand how that would be considered square footage of the addition. Because it is. Shared or not?
being constructed for the accessory use.
Yeah.
Well,
Connected.
and
Those are
they
exactly.
can also build this on this lot without the ADU.
Yes, I think.
That's just within our town, not a problem.
And also, the total square footage of this home is less than or equal to the square footage of most of the homes on that road. Even after the addition. Most of those homes are over 2,400 square feet. Some of them as high as almost 4,000 square feet. So I don't see where it changes anything for the community or makes it any less desirable for someone to live in.
Does anybody know how to slip downstairs and not set off the alarm? I'm not kidding.
You can get it on the.
We need square footage, well, the tax card should say square footage of the house.
Well, but what we need to do is take and add up all of the living space of this proposal.
I think right on the plan itself, it shows you the base footprint of the existing structure.
Yeah.
It's 26 by 24.
Well, now we're mistaking existing structure. Our ordinance doesn't exactly say that we're basing anything on existing structure. You have a primary and an accessory dwelling unit within the entirety of this, what is proposed. And
But isn't the primary residence or structure the existing structure?
in part, and what has happened in the past is that a section of the proposal will be adding into the living space of the primary, and a section of the living space will be the accessory. Now, if this can get adjusted so that we are not more than 1/3 in the accessory dwelling unit, then we are complying with this section of our ordinance.
We have internet connection, you can pull up the website.
We get the tax card?
Can you get on that, Hillary?
I can, but I don't know how to look that up. Just go to county bills.
Yeah. We won't talk in the meantime.
Under assessing,
I know what?
under assessing, again, the town departments.
Tax appeals.
Do we have a lot number? Map one?
Yes. On the application.
Yeah, do that up.
It's right under the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
212, 1.2.
It may be something so simple as making this mudroom on the first floor living area of the main house.
There's also a question about this hall area on the second floor. That's actually part of the ADU also shared space.
Well, it's going on this doorway right into the existing structure.
So both of those areas are kind of
Yeah,
gray
there.
area.
Exactly. They go either way.
Well,
Do you think?
I can build that as part of my home, and later on, we build the rest of that. As the ADU, that would
Well,
satisfy people here.
That, and if it's just a matter of definition, where the ADU starts. Where the primary, the living structure starts.
The mudroom, though, is being constructed. It's not there. It's going to be, it's not part of the.
Yep, that's,
But I do have the right to construct it as part of my
Absolutely.
original dwelling. And
Yeah.
It's part of the second floor structure.
another very long time.
So they just put on a mock-up addition. Yeah.
What was the map number? Was it 212?
212, assessment map number 212, it says lot 1.2.
Gross living area, 1,600 on existing structure.
What is it on the existing?
16. Gross living area is indicated 1,600 square feet.
Yes.
Yes.
1,600?
Yeah.
1,600.
That's what I, that makes it worse because we thought it was 17. 750.
I have documentation of the 1700.
Oh, you ought to try to tell how big our yard is. Anywhere from 1 to 3 acres. I don't know where they got that. Yeah, that doesn't look good.
750 over 2350 is less than a third. But the question is, this is bigger than 750 probably.
That's what.
That's .319.
Right.
Exactly, 0.319.
He cracked himself. And it's a repeating decimal.
It's less than .32. It's less than
0.32.
right? When I was a school.
What's that number?
What's that?
What comes up with that number? That's the rate,
The town says 1,600.
relative to that.
It's
No, our original.
the original is 1,600.
Okay, that's just a question.
The new structure, according to the schematic, there is 676 square feet.
Right.
The mudroom on the second floor, which is part of the living area, is 224 square feet. Below that, on the first floor, the mudroom is 224 square feet. Either way, you get 900 or 1124. You add that to the 1,600 square feet in the main residence, and you start trying to make this determination. It's pretty, I think it's pretty evident. The first floor and the second floor, the mudroom are part of this accessory use.
They're part of both.
Either way,
New designs.
it's going to exceed the 1/3.
Well, the mudroom on the first floor is also access from the garage to the existing house.
Building a new garage.
Yeah, new garage.
And an entrance to my garage.
Now, should these requirements listed here all be met, and I'm not required to make changes to your plans to make it meet, but if these were all met, this would be a go forward. If there's some change can be made to the design that allows it to be not less than 1/3. It must be less than 1/3. We can proceed with that. If you need to come back to present us with that, that's one thing. The other method that an accessory dwelling unit can be permitted in Newfields is by variance.
Which is what you're looking at.
The variance does not have these requirements. I like to follow them.
Oh, that would be too easy.
So that is an alternate method of achieving your goals.
Why is potentially a variance required as opposed to a special?
Well,
exception?
if we could be shown that the accessory living quarters is 1/3, not to exceed 1/3,
Didn't we just?
then we can put a check mark on that criteria.
And didn't we just do that with the tennis court?
No, we've got a bit of a problem with that.
Oh, the setback.
Well, not the setback, I mean, we were setback.
Yeah.
And it really does boil down to the first and second floor mudroom areas. Because without those two mudroom areas, it comes out at 32.3.
Because,
If you could-
because we were told that was not considered living
That-
space.
Well, so
we need to figure that out.
Well, you know what, why couldn't I build my garage and my breezeway as part of my home? And then I'll wait, and I'll build that ADU.
Well, if your
and it'll be considered
breezeway is part of your
my
home, what does that do to the numbers? Do we get it so that your home is 2/3 of this?
It would be,
Yeah.
if you already built it out to.
If you can show us that, you don't have to build it first, then it would be your benefit to just show us that.
Well,
Do it in a phased, I think.
Well, so this may need a continuance in order for them to show us this change of plans so that it meets that 1/3.
I just don't,
But it can't be required to be less than 750 feet, so we're getting into a rather tight zone there. Oh, yes. State your name, please. so-
Yeah, Christine McDade, live across the street.
Okay.
I just had a question more about the plan, because this sits on where I believe their driveway goes right now, and there's another garage building that they already have. And this, we see the full house as it is, and we're going to see this addition.
Sure.
So it's going to be a much bigger, much different looking house. And what are they doing about the driveway and all of that? Is that
Well-
part of what we have to consider or not? I mean, I realize it's not.
that's not
Not so,
anywhere.
no, not so much. If this,
I'm talking about the total zoning ordinance with the building that's
All right.
already on the property for the 4A garage.
all right, quiet, please. In a general sense, they're allowed to build on 25% of their lot. Okay? And then there are setbacks. I'm going to suggest 25 feet from the street, 20 feet from sides, and 20 feet from the back property line. Within those constraints, they can build. What you look at is they can build. That is our consideration as we are given the guidance here this should look like a single-family residence.
It may look big.
Well, and that's happened before in our village. The garage with the accessory dwelling unit has the appearance of being bigger than the original structure. In one previous case, that adjustments of where the living quarters in the original primary dwelling unit versus the accessory dwelling unit is what made the square footage work. So that's the shuffle that's here. And if there's an adjustment to this drawing that makes that work to the not exceeding 1/3, then that part of these requirements goes forwards. Fran, you had a hand up.
I think it's a little bit related to what Chris was talking about, but on those plans, the backside of the structure shows another garage door.
Sure.
Yeah. Were you constructing this that large so you could get vehicles to go to the barn in the back and go through this garage?
I don't believe that has any relevance for what we're talking about.
It doesn't. I've known people to do that for the convenience of it, and that's not really one of the things that we are tasked with looking at. All right, so we have a little work to do on that. And now, on 14.4.1.3, the accessory apartment shall be designed so that the appearance of the building remains that of the single-family dwelling. There shall be one egress to the primary living area from the accessory apartment. Any new entrances shall be located on the side of the rear of the building. Now, this entrance to the mudroom, if that's to the primary living quarters, that qualifies. If that's to the accessory dwelling unit, that's perhaps questionable. I did see that there is access through to the primary building. That's covered. I do see what looks like a door on the side here too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the size of the mudroom, if I go by the drawings as shown here, it looks to be about 240 square feet.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name back there. You seem to do a lot on the drawing.
The extension?
Just the mudroom
The
itself.
bottom, the one moving upstairs is actually part of the living room.
Correct, part of the living area, just the bottom, because that mudroom area that's described right here.
It's 224 square feet.
224, yep. And so with that in mind, you know, this entire,
Is the primary, part of the primary living?
that's more of the question than we have all the numbers here, we just have to.
Well, and that can be
Brings it down to 16
possibly the only, does that set of numbers work? 1,600, 224?
Well, it brings it down to 676.
It's floors of 224.
But there's two floors of 224 is the point, though. See, so the question is that, more of the question is who is going to determine if the mudroom is living space?
I
That would
don't
make a
like
difference.
that Larry Shaw said.
Right, so that's what you were told. is that
Larry
mudroom-
already determined all that, that's why we've gotten here,
Right.
to this point.
That's kind of,
That's the crux of all this, because that would drop it down.
It's the entrance to the accessory dwelling. It's the entry into the accessory
The entrance to my home and my garage as well.
And actually, I mean, looking ahead, wouldn't the town prefer to have this as a bona fide ADU, not just one big honking house? Because it's still
Tax-wise,
good.
it's better because, sure.
But I'm just thinking, this creates a problem down the line. You've got something that was built as an ADU that isn't being used that way, or
Well-
to be used that way.
When they put a kitchen in, that becomes
Yes, yeah.
a problem that needs to be resolved before there's a building occupancy permit.
I'm just saying that with an ADU, we have things in place, owner occupied, no condominiums.
So if
If these owners were just to build it, they could do that.
they can build this without the ADU. Now, if this, if there's another entrance,
We could easily put another entrance on the side.
if there's an entrance to the ADU on the back or the side, then we can this just amounts to defining this downstairs, what's listed here as mudroom, where this square footage gets counted. It's counted as primary living quarters. It appears as though we couldn't do that with this, including the stairway, but if the access to these stairs, if there is an access to these stairs from the back or the back side,
That's a change we could make.
I agree. And that's,
So
yeah.
so New Hampshire State Building Code, which Newfields adheres to, defines living space as habitable space used for living, sleeping, eating, or cooking. This includes rooms like a living room, a bedroom, and a kitchen. Spaces such as bathrooms, closets, halls, storage, or utility spaces in similar areas are not considered habitable.
But they still have the square footage of the house.
Of the house, but
Yeah,
but it's
but they're
not
not
living.
habitable, yeah.
It's not living space.
But the definition specifically says living
Yeah.
space.
Right.
So, which, for that reason. Because you're not taking the garage, for example, when you start talking about storage area as their definition as well, which would perhaps be this mudroom. Which is probably what everything's at, same conclusion. The mudroom is not considered.
Well, there was one that had an attachment, if you will, and for this to work, that became part of the primary structure. And that's all it took.
Well, was that a hallway connecting to the main home though?
Essentially.
Circumstance, yeah.
You know, if you look at what we say in our regulations, they don't have living space, but they do have dwelling. Any building or portion therefore designated or used exclusively as a residence or sleeping place of one or more persons, and a dwelling unit is one or more rooms, including cooking facilities and sanitary facilities in a dwelling structure designed as a unit for occupancy by no more than one family for living and sleeping purposes. So one way you can look at it, right, and this happens all the time, when the regulation doesn't specifically include that language, right, like a mudroom or something like that, then it isn't considered. That's one way you can look at it. But given that it wasn't singled out that way, then mudroom would not be considered living space.
And it's still a camper.
That creates a problem. So this first floor of the mudroom needs to become a part of the primary living space for our numbers
So for the numbers to work.
to work. And in my mind, that's not a big ask. It may be more than maybe making sure that area is heated. Maybe it has a breathing room.
Job room.
Are they considered residents?
Well, either way, I can't see us going forward.
Would you be able to give us a reconsideration for this entryway, what's described as mudroom here, and showing it as a qualified living space? If you would consider that
Of course.
a continuance for you to show us that would be appropriate.
Okay.
And if you wish to go that route, you appropriately would have to ask us for a continuance to show us that.
Okay.
And if you are confident that you can show us that, that would be fine. All right, let's move on from point 414, 4.1, 1.5, at least one of the units shall be single-family dwelling, must be continued to be owner-occupied. As part of the approved special exception, the ZBA may set reasonable conditions to ensure compliance with this. So this doesn't appear to be any kind of an issue here. No more than 2 bedrooms permitted in the accessory dwelling unit. That's appears to be in compliance. Off-street paved or gravel parking shall be provided for at least 4 vehicles. How does that appear here?
It's a 3-car garage and a 80-foot driveway.
Up in the barn, they can park a couple of cars if you need to.
Yep, certainly there's the 2-car garage.
Is that the county of the square footage?
I'm just gonna wait there.
And then if the driveway is widened down a little bit so that there is a little, I can see one more car parked between the new structure and the existing home.
You have a barn too, that holds 2 vehicles now.
This one could get, that part of this ordinance could be, just be shown a little bit more clear. I think the intent here is for I don't have any doubt that could be accommodated here.
There's three garages in the house. The new addition has two, and then there's one existing.
This applies a lot more to a lot of the stuff that we hear in the village where people end up parking on the street. That's why we make a big deal. Well, no, I know where you live.
On the street.
Yeah, no, but
I've driven down it.
but that's the intent.
Yeah.
The intent, and also an observation of what becomes a problem. And yes, as Betsy said, that problem is exasperated in the village district. As I said, it's apparent that this can be accommodated. It is just simply not drawn.
Common sense.
Common sense would say, yes. All right, 1.8, structure shall not be converted to a condominium or any other form of legal ownership distinct from ownership as a single family dwelling. That appears to be the intent, and that would be the way this continues. Evidence to the town health officer, town agent qualified to review septic system related information.
We had that.
We did, Michael Polo sent us a letter that indicates he's reviewed that. And that is in compliance. So the last one, 9.3, sketch plan on scale of the lot with existing and proposed structures and parking. This a little bit mentions parking, could be a little bit better. And 9.4, evidence submitted to the building inspector, building requirements can be met. And then the building inspector shall indicate his approval to the writing. Didn't see that particular document in here, but sometimes we allow for him to present that prior to his signature on an approval. All right, 1.10, accessory dwelling unit shall be subject to the standards and conditions for special exception as set forth in the ordinance. There are several places for special exceptions in our ordinance book. Does everybody conclude that we have just the one difficulty here, and that being 4.14.4.1.4, size of the accessory apartment shall not exceed 1/3 of the living area of the entire dwelling, meaning both units, but shall not be required to be less than 750 square feet.
Why is that in there?
Is everybody okay with everything
The
else?
statute's indicating you can't require somebody to have less than 50.
Yeah, but I mean, our minimum dwelling unit size, I think is,
500?
oh, I thought it was 6.
Oh, it's 6, yeah.
It's pretty,
Pretty small.
yeah, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
All right, is there, everybody on the board who finds that
So, just so we're clear, and it's in the minutes, we're saying that what's in contention is whether or not the mudroom is considered part of the living area.
yes.
So, if we can get that cleared up, that the mudroom, we go to Larry for that, get Larry's reading on that. If the mudroom's not part of the living area, then it does meet the numbers work.
I Wants to be part of the primary structure of the area.
It's got to be permanent.
It can't be part of the,
No, I'm just saying, it's, the mudroom is not considered part of living area.
Right. Similar to the garage.
oh, if it were considered part of the living area, then we can add that to the square footage and make things compliant. And see things.
No, because if you're adding, if it's living area,
Right.
then it's part of the all square footage, and it will be well over 750 feet. I think that's the point where we're struggling with.
See if you,
If it's part of, if
If
it's part
he's
of the
saying
primary
the
structure.
primary structure, it makes the primary structure larger.
Correct, but the square footage is still there. That's why it's written that it's for both units, the square footage of both units, the existing and your proposed building. That's why it's written that way. If you take the entire, and then a third of it should not be,
Exactly.
okay, larger
Right.
than the
So
750.
I'm going to make the breezeway and the mudroom part of my home, which makes it part of the original structure.
Well, no, I think that you're
If
getting
I'm
that.
allowed to do that, I'm allowed to make my home as big as I can with the setbacks.
exactly.
25%.
Exactly, that's true. That's right, but I guess it still gets that back to the point of, it's the overall square footage, and the ADU cannot be more than a third of the
So if
overall.
that's-
So we just need to see that that is part of the total square footage.
Or
Is that what you're-
if the current house is 1,600, the ADU is currently, as drawn, 900. If you subtract that out, it drops it down to 676 square feet for the ADU. And
That's
676,
not in consideration the top floor
Yeah.
of that mudroom, which is part, I think there's a bathroom on the top.
No, there's not.
Part of the kitchen?
No, there's not.
Second, again,
No,
second
there's not.
floor of the mudroom, there's no.
No, there's not.
Right.
Absolutely not.
So again, so the point is that the mudroom is 224 square feet from each level, okay?
Yeah.
That section.
Yeah.
The top is living area, nobody's disputed that.
Yeah,
because
right.
That has
Right.
the bathroom and the head, okay? But the point is the first floor, so it would be off the garage, if you will. That's the mudroom, that's the 224 square feet. So,
That's total space. Now we have to deal with the 1/3, 2/3.
right, so it brings it down to .27.
Hey, I'd like to clarify something for the record. The second floor, is it the second floor that's showing a closet and a bathroom? And a dining area?
Not in that space as a whole.
Dining area, that's it, part of the dining area, which takes up to 816 square feet.
And where's the closet and where, is that on the second floor or the first floor?
Where's the what?
You show a closet, on this sheet 6 of 6, you show a closet and WD, I'm not sure.
Washer dryer.
Yeah. That's joint, that's shared space right there, that hall, that's shared space, and that's the doorway into our existing
Or the
home,
ADU.
and the doorway into the ADU.
it's titled upper level floor plan. So then your lower level floor plan is your two-car garage and your
I don't
mudroom.
like to engage in legal fiction.
I can see where that might be wished to be part of the original building, but because that's the access to the stairway, that also has the characteristics that it is accessory dwelling unit.
So split it in half.
That might
And the door out to the deck, and the door into the,
This is part of this. See that in the door?
There's no way letting me know what we need to do and go on
Well, I
forward.
can't, and it's not this board's job to redraw this for this,
You said that.
to meet the standards. I think you've heard clearly, and there will be minutes available in a few days that you can follow through, or you could watch it on video and for your home convenience. we'd like to have a definition for you, but it has to be like less than a third. We can't require it to be less than 750 square feet. It appears as though the contention is where we define primary living structure and the accessory living structure, and with this connecting between the primary and accessory, or the garage accessory / accessory unit, that's where things need to get cleared up or maybe modified in order to meet those requirements.
Okay, no problem.
It appears as though a continuance would be the best course of action at this point.
And I'd like to request that, please.
To the board, all those who feel continuance, would like to approve a continuance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Continuance granted.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is the original meeting.
Smart man, there's a lot of I know. This is pretty straightforward.
If we would like our son to like
What's the side of that?
Yeah, I think that's, we're trying to do, make it look like a tasteful addition.
Right.
And, one entrance.
Okay, see, that's what
Now, if you do all the
Right, yes, that's, yeah, that's, just 1291. Yes, I've read about that. It's just about-
That's a side, but do you have something?
But I didn't want to ask Larry.
But,
Well, it is, but,
you know, we have 10, 1 acres and 9 taxes on.
You guys have an email?
When you sell it, you can't see.
I think you can't really, well, I was not very, you Get what out of it, I can't speak out of terms, and I really want
But if you're going out of the town meeting agenda, that you have a person that is here.
You know, so.
Well, that would have to be on the warrant, but they just list what they'd have to do. You can exactly like get a citizen's petition, and then you need 20 signatures to change the zone.
well, the board members, is there any other business that anybody has to discuss this evening? I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Second? Well, say aye.
Yeah, so you just,
Free to come forward, but it's they do not.
those have to go to the
separate,
state.
separate boundary. Those have to
You
go
know, the
separate.
state was using as a language.
Want to do it?
That's why, well, I think, it has to be a tree.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I don't think it's gonna be done on your side. No,
That's the thing, you gotta keep the light. The way it's getting is zoning,
different times, starting back in
Longer.
1993. No, yeah, 1993. So, see all these changes?
Yeah, they're losing one.
So you want to change?
No, there are two on the side. No, they're losing garage. Two, it's in the main garage on one side.
I was reading backwards.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, because right now on the side, double garage. One of those two is going to become
And one of them.
living spaces.
That, I'm not sure.
Or can be storage space. Yeah, it's no longer going to be accessible to the common view.
But then there's the
Great times.
He doesn't want to.
Don't want to minimize, I think that's a tough one, because that's not, it should be frontage living space.
Fran was saying.
First floor.
Since you're not in a
Bathroom and everything.
Well, to me, the denominator of the calculation, if you, when the question is, when do you consider the first floor of the living apartment?
So you want one.
It's living space or not. And so either that 224 is or is not part of the denominator.
You talk about which one.
So the question becomes, is that part of the, since we're dwelling here, or is that part of the existing house? Even though it's going to be built.
That comes up on enforcement.
But the other,
That comes under, yeah.
I mean, it's set back from the front of their current house.
two things with this addition.
It's like, yeah, it's like your access to the garage. And they
You
didn't
know,
really
there's no back
match.
No, but there's two.
Well,
Not one.
We did you too.
No, it's
What they want to do, as you could, if you want to.
oh, I can't clear it.
They put a lot of money into the siding.
I thought it said
So I'm just pushing the red button front.
That was what it sounded like when I.
On the top, on the speaker, turn it from the slide, this is sliding door all the way to the back.